Good morning. I'm Rose Picard. This is Godly Play for Sunday, April 4th. In the beginning, the baby was born. God chose Mary to be the mother of God. Listen carefully. Listen to the words. God chose Mary to be the mother of God, and the Word was born, a wordless child. When the baby looked up into the face of the mother Mary, he already saw the cross. When he looked into the face of Father Joseph, the cross was there too. The mother Mary and the father Joseph held the baby very close. They kept the baby warm. They gave the baby everything he needed to grow. And then he did begin to grow. The baby grew and became a boy. When he was about 12 years old, he went with the mother Mary and the father Joseph, and with many other people from their village of Nazareth, to the great city of Jerusalem, to keep one of the high holy days. When the celebration was over, the people from Nazareth went out through the great high gate and started on the road toward home. Suddenly, Mary and Joseph turned around and saw that Jesus was not there. They thought he had been playing with the other children from the other village as they walked together. They hurried back into the great city of Jerusalem to find him. Mary and Joseph looked in the dark and narrow streets. They looked in the marketplace where they had bought their food. They looked where they had spent the night. They looked everywhere. Finally, they went and looked in the temple, and there he was. He was talking to the rabbis and the priests. When he spoke, they all listened to him because he knew so much. And when they spoke, he listened because he wanted to learn more. Mary and Joseph then asked Jesus the question all parents ask their children, the question you can never answer. Why did you do this? And Jesus said something very strange. He said, "Didn't you know I would be in the house of my Father?" Mary and Joseph didn't understand what he meant. Their house was in Nazareth, where Joseph's carpenter shop was. They did not understand, but they did not forget. Jesus grew and became a man. When he was about 30 years old, he went to the river Jordan, where his cousin John was baptizing people. Do you see John? You can just see the back of his head. He was a wild man. Jesus waded into the river until he was face to face with John. He said, "Baptize me." John looked at Jesus as if for the very first time, and now he saw who he really was. "How can I baptize you? You are the Messiah, the one we have been waiting for. You must baptize me." Jesus said, "No, it is written that you will come before me and prepare the way. Baptize me." Jesus went down into the darkness and the chaos of the water. When John lifted him back up into the light, there were people there who said they saw a dove flying above Jesus' head. He came down from heaven, and the dove came very close to him. There were also people there that day that heard a voice. The voice said, "This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased." After Jesus was baptized, he went on across the river Jordan into the desert, and he stayed there for 40 days and 40 nights to learn more about who he was and what his work was going to be. Jesus went into the desert to discover more about who he was and what his work was going to be. He was there for 40 days and 40 nights. There was little to eat or to drink. One day he heard a voice. It said, "Why don't you turn one of these stones over there into bread and have something to eat?" Jesus said, "No. To be a real human being, we need more than just bread to eat." Suddenly, it was as if Jesus were on the top of the great temple in Jerusalem. The voice came back. If you are really the Son of God, why don't you jump and see if God sends the angels to catch you before you hit the stones below? Jesus said, No, we don't test God. Then it was as if Jesus could see all the kingdom of the world. The voice came back again. If you will follow me, I will make you king over all of these kingdoms. Jesus said, No, I am to be king, but not that kind of king. And then the voice went away. Jesus went back across the Jordan and began to do his work. But what was his work? His work was to come close to people, especially the people no one else wanted to come close to. See, he has come so close to this blind man that he could touch his eyes. When Jesus came close to people, they changed. They could see things they could never see before, and they could do things they could never do before. They became well. Jesus also told parables. Finally, he knew that he had to become a parable. So he turned towards Jerusalem for the very last time. Jesus also told parables. Finally, he knew that he had to become a parable. Jesus entered Jerusalem for the last time. It was the time of the Passover, and the city was full of people from many different lands. They thought Jesus was coming to be a king, but they weren't paying attention. He wasn't riding on a white horse when he came into the city. He wasn't being carried by soldiers. He was riding on a donkey, and it wasn't even his. He had to borrow it. Still, that Sunday when Jesus came into Jerusalem, people waved palm branches, which were a sign of a king. On Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, Jesus went into the temple to teach. Every night he went back to the Mount of Olives with the 12. The people watched him and whispered that the Mount of Olives was where angels were supposed to come down to make an army to drive away the Roman soldiers. One day, when Jesus was teaching in the temple, he said, "Do you see that old woman over there? She's going to put something in the money box. Listen. Do you hear anything? She has put the smallest coin there is in the box. That was all the money she had. Now here comes a rich man. He has so much money to put into the money box that he had to have help to carry it. His money makes a huge clanging and ringing as they pour it into the box. Now, I wonder, which one do you really think gave the most? The old woman or the rich man?" Some said the rich man because he gave the most, and some said the old woman did. Just then the temple guard said, "On Thursday we will take him." But on Thursday they couldn't find him. That evening Jesus and the 12 hurried through the dark streets to a house. They climbed up the stairs to an upper room and shared their Last Supper together. After they had everything they wanted to eat, Jesus took some bread and he broke it. And he said something like, "Whenever you break bread like this and share it, I will be there with you." And then they had some wine. He gave thanks to God for it and said, "Whenever you share a cup of wine like this, I will be there with you." What was he talking about? He was always saying things like that. How could they know? Still, they did not forget. And later, they would understand. Suddenly, Judas got up and left. The rest sang a hymn and then went to the Garden of Gethsemane on the Mount of Olives. Jesus wanted to pray. When he finished, he joined the 12, but Judas came out of the dark and greeted him. This was a signal for the temple guards to take him. They too came out of the shadows and took Jesus away with them into the night. Then the 12 disappeared into the darkness as well. The night was a very confusing one. The next day, Jesus was taken outside the walls of the city, and he was crucified. That afternoon, Jesus died. The sky grew dark. Jesus was taken down from the cross and buried in a cave. A great stone was rolled into the opening of the cave to close it like a door. Saturday was so quiet you could almost hear the earth breathing. On Sunday, it was just the women who had the courage to go to the tomb just to be close to Jesus. They wanted to remember, even if it was sad. When they came to the tomb, they found that the stone had been rolled back and that the tomb was empty. Jesus had died on the cross, but somehow he was still with them as he is with us, especially in the bread and the wine. When you look at this side, you know that this side with Jesus and the bread and the wine is there. And when you look at this side is still there. They can't be taken apart. This is the mystery of Easter, and that makes all the difference. And so the color changes. Wait, there's something wrong with this. Here's the beginning, the middle, and the end. But this could also be a beginning. How do you think we could change this to make it so there is no end? Now, there's no end and there's no beginning. And now the story can go on forever. Thank you for joining me for Godly Play. Have a blessed week.